name's Megan Quinn, and I play for Hamilton Academical. I'm a defender, usually play left back or centre half, and I'm the club captain. I think we're quite a fairly new team in terms of players. So at the beginning of the season, we got quite a few new players in, new signings, and I think our main goal was just kind of to like solidify our position in the league. I think results maybe haven't went in our favour at the best of times, but I think that we've built like a really solid squad. But yeah, I would say kind of our ambitions were just to kind of make sure that we stay in the top flight and try and get as close to the top six as we possibly can. But as I said, I think that we actually have. I don't think really the points reflect how well we've actually played this season. I think there's been quite a few games that have been quite tight, and we've just been quite unfortunate not to come out as the winning side. The league table obviously kind of tells you that as well. So, yeah, that's kind of been what our goals have been this season. Yeah, so I absolutely love the club. And yeah, as it's quite a big responsibility. I've been there for nearly 8 years now. So I've seen like quite a lot of changes and things at the club. But I feel like we're in quite a good position now in terms of like where the club's at in terms of bringing players in and the professionalism that they're kind of trying to bring to the league, and the club are fully behind us. And I feel like it is quite a big responsibility being a captain in an SWPL team, especially with like how things are going now, with like being streamed live on television and like doing interviews and things like that. Because that's obviously when I first started playing football, that really wasn't a thing. But yeah, you need to kind of have quite a level head and like just kind of be carefully like what you're doing and what you're posting kind of thing as well. So yeah, as I said, I absolutely love playing for the club, and it's a club that I've got quite close to my heart. So no, I'm absolutely delighted to be the captain. So when I first joined the club, I joined the club from Celtic, so it was a big difference, a big change for me, going for such a big club like that. And I feel like Accies were so welcoming when I first joined. But I feel kind of over the last few years we've had like a really good relationship with the men's team. So, and I know a lot of clubs maybe don't have that, but we've been really lucky that the club have been really supportive of the women's team. So, for example, like we play and train like at the stadium, like we get all our kit and things, like we've got access to physio. If somebody's maybe needing an operation, like that's kind of covered by the club, like that kind of thing. Whereas when I first started, that wasn't the case. But certainly over the last few years, the club have really bought into having like a women's setup. And I think that obviously shows with like our academy and things as well, because we've got so many youth players playing like at international level, and a lot of the girls want to stick around at Hamilton rather than moving to like a Rangers or a Celtic, because there's a good opportunity there to come up and train and play with the first team. But no, like as I said, it's changed quite a lot, but for the better in my opinion, because the club is really making it as professional as it possibly can for us, and they're doing everything they can to help us. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely heading in the right direction. I think, like as I was saying earlier, like even them putting games and things like on the television, like Sky Sports are like buying into it a bit more now, and obviously the BBC have kind of been involved for a few years now. But I do think that the investment that they're putting in is going to help, and it will only get better and better. I do feel like there is still quite a bit of a divide though in the league. So you're talking like your top six and your bottom six. There's girls playing at Celtic and Rangers and City and things, and it's like their full-time job, whereas like a lot of the girls that play in the bottom six teams have got full-time jobs, and this is like a part-time thing for us. So like we're out working like all day and then going straight from work to training, and then maybe not getting home till like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then you're back up early for your work the next day. And I think sometimes at the weekend when you're playing against like Celtic and Rangers, like that does show. So I do think like they could do a bit more, but I think that it is heading in the right direction. But as I said, like Rome wasn't built in a day, so it's not as if we can pure change it overnight. But I do feel like they are heading in the right direction by trying to kind of encourage clubs to, like pay their players, like make sure that everything's there in terms of like healthcare and things like that. So no, I do think that it is getting better. I think the big thing for me is I'll give you an example. A few girls were talking about the other day. So obviously the split happened, and then it was announced that there was something like, I think it was or 12 or 14 games between now and the end of the season we're going to get shown on Sky Sports or BBC, but not a single one of the games was in the bottom six. It was all top six games. But the bottom six is probably, in my opinion, a wee bit more competitive than the top six because we're all quite close in terms of points and things, and there's a lot to play for. Whereas I would say probably in the top six, you've maybe got 2 or 3 teams that are going to be battling for that league, and it will still be really competitive. But in the bottom six, there is probably more competitive football to be played. And like things like that, I do think like something like that could. And obviously, as I said, I think our game against Aberdeen on Sunday's now been shown on BBC Scotland, but that wasn't announced when everything else was announced. So I don't know if there's been a bit of a backlash like on social media. I've seen quite a few comments on Twitter and things of people saying, you know, like why is it just the top 6 games that are getting shown? And I do think that as much as there has been investment in the league, there needs to be more because, as I said, it's just the divide's just going to get bigger and bigger. Especially if you've got some clubs that are part-time and some clubs that are full-time. If you want to make it, you know, like the most competitive that it can be, and like in terms of fairness, like I think everybody needs to be on the same level playing field because at the moment, like that's not happening. A good example would be actually there's a boy that I went to school with who played with Hearts at the same time I was at Celtic, and they would go away like do trips abroad and things like during pre-season, and they would be like maybe like on the park at half time at Tynecastle, like that kind of thing. And to be honest, like I never got anything like that at Celtic. I think like they obviously did try their best to like do what they did, but in terms of that kind of side of things, like I think the boys are definitely better looked after than the girls. But no, like I did have opportunities, like, you know, like I played for Scottish schools and like was capped and went away with the national team at under 16s and under 17s. So like there was opportunities there. But as I do think though that there definitely is a big divide in girls and boys football. Like growing up. To be honest, I've made some amazing friends throughout football, and a lot of them have been since I've been playing with Celtic and Hamilton. For me, that's probably the biggest thing. Because when I was at school, like I didn't really have pals that were into football. Like all my friends for school and things like absolutely hated football. Whereas because I played in a team and played in the Swpl, like I got to know like so many people, and like I have so many contacts. Like you could just pick up the phone and just ask somebody to do something and be there in a second. So no, like I think that's probably like a good thing as well. And I'd say probably how competitive the league is in terms of like who's round about you. I know that SWPL2 is the same. Like when we won that league a few years back, that was like the most competitive league I think I've ever played in. Because there was a chance that like 5 or 6 teams could have won that league that year. And I do think that is just it is a competitive league, but they could make it better. But for me, I would say that's probably been the best thing.